Here's a very interesting story for you Aussies out there. What do you think about these comments from Malcolm Turnbull? Do you agree that Tesla should have called out Scott Morrison when he criticised electric cars and said that they would ruin the weekend? Well, he's since retracted that statement, but I don't know. I'm interested to hear what you think about this. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. I'm the Electric Viking. Great to see you here today. I hope you've had an awesome week. I'm intrigued. These comments from Malcolm Turnbull, are they sour grapes or does he have a point? I don't know. Now, for those of you who aren't Australian, our former Prime Minister, or our President, his name was Malcolm Turnbull. Now, he was sort of usurped by his own party. They basically kicked him out, kind of stabbed him in the back, you would say here. I think it's fair to say that's what we've said here in Australia. And they elected a new leader. It's sort of like, imagine Joe Biden, right? He's in power right now. Imagine that your party, the Democrats, just secretly voted him out of the party and anointed a new president of America. That's what happened here in Australia. So our ex-president or our ex-prime minister is now criticizing the guy who forced him out. This wasn't through a democratically elected process, by the way. This guy, Malcolm Turnbull, was democratically elected. We elected Turnbull, then his own party, when he was in power, kicked him out and anointed a new person. This is the strange Australian politics here. In America, this would be like unheard of. I don't think this has ever happened in America that I know of. So yeah, this is the kind of thing that happens here in Australia all the time. It's like, in terms of politics, it really is the outback. It's just insane. Anyway, this is what happened. Former Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull has said that the current Prime Minister, who kicked him out, Scott Morrison, lies about electric vehicles, which is true, in his last election campaign. And those lies really hurt the industry. But he said that EV companies, including Tesla, should have stood up and called bullshit on the comments. I don't know if Tesla even heard about it. I mean, I'm not sure Malcolm Turnbull, maybe he places too much importance on the country of Australia. I don't think globally people really care about what happens. We're like a backwater here. Sorry, Malcolm. That's what I think. But maybe Elon did hear about it. I don't know. What do you think? Did he or didn't he? The 2019 election campaign was called just a few months after Morrison replaced Turnbull as leader of the Liberal Party, which is kind of like the Republicans essentially here in Australia, and as Prime Minister. And it featured a weird campaign where Liberal ministers, led by Scott Morrison, our current President or Prime Minister, sought to demonise EVs, claiming that they would ruin the weekend and they couldn't tow a boat because everyone in Australia likes to tow a boat. By the way, Americans and Europeans and everyone who watches this channel, not many people in Australia actually have boats. I don't know why Scott Morrison thought this was a good idea to say this. And I don't know why people listen to this guy. At the time, though, there was this kind of thing here in Australia where everyone was, well, not everyone, but a lot of people were anti-electric cars. It started to change now. In fact, it's changing a lot. You can see Google Trends now. People are looking up EVs every minute of the day here in Australia. It's definitely changed heaps. And Tesla Model 3, well, what happened? Last month, it was the #1 selling passenger car in the country. Insane, right? So you can see the tide has changed here. I don't think Malcolm Turnbull will get voted back in. We have an election coming up soon. I think these comments that he made are they're going to come back to bite him. Honestly, it sounded so stupid. Like, how can a car ruin your weekend? It doesn't make sense. But anyway, that's what he said. Turnbull thinks that this caused a lot of harm to the EV industry here in Australia. It might have. It's very possible. He thinks Tesla or Elon Musk should have called out our Prime Minister, told him he was an idiot, and told him to shut up or something like that. He says it was insane. Morrison and the others were saying things about electric vehicles which they must have known to be complete rubbish. Now, to be honest, Morrison, I don't really care about political parties here in Australia. I kind of vote independence. But what he said, I think he believed it. The guy's he's not that intelligent. That's my view. I think he's a bit clueless. That's what I think. I think he's a bit slow. He's a bit clueless. And I think he really didn't know. I think he was just making these claims because he thought that someone told him that electric cars would ruin the weekend. And so he thought, yeah, thanks, mate. All right, I'll say that to everyone. Yeah, mate, thanks. So that's what I think. I'm not sure that Turnbull... I think Turnbull's giving him too much credit in terms of his intellectual capability to understand electric cars. Turnbull goes on, he says, I mean, they're not morons. They knew it was rubbish. But they said it, and News Corp and other media dutifully amplified it. And it was just madness. I think that election did a huge amount of damage to the credibility of electric vehicles in Australia. It really hurt the industry, and obviously from an environmental point of view, it did damage. Really, the EV industry and the EV companies, particularly Tesla, should have been coming out very loud and proud and just saying bullshit. We're not telling you how to vote, ladies and gentlemen, but what the Prime Minister just said is bullshit. Just call it out and put the facts on the table. I mean, obviously you can't just say bullshit and walk away. You've actually got to say why it's bullshit. And, well, Turnbull's right, it was bullshit, but he's also right about one thing. At that point in time, the Australian media, I don't know why, are they funded by big oil? I don't know. But they were publishing so much false information about electric cars in Australia. They were saying all these things like they're bad for the environment, their running costs are way higher than internal combustion engine vehicles. It was just like negative articles about electric cars coming out every second day of the week, or maybe every day of the week. It was crazy. The amount of negativity was insane here in Australia. It's embarrassing. Honestly, it embarrassed me as an Australian to hear all this stuff because 99% of it was totally made up, totally bogus. Fortunately, the media is like, oh, actually, people don't agree with this stuff anymore. We better not keep printing this garbage. So they have slowed it down, mostly. There's still some crap. Mostly they've slowed down the negativity and now they're becoming more positive towards EVs, but it has taken a while. Now, the Driven.io says the EV industry as a result in Australia is now suffering. There was little interest in EVs until a year or two ago, and very little interest from car makers to bring EVs to Australia thanks to the attitude of the federal government and the lack of any supportive policies. And they may have a point. Now, despite a surge in demand for EVs from Australian consumers, wait times are extending into 2023 and beyond. And many models are not available because car companies are sending their stock to countries with more welcoming policies or where they must meet ever-tightening emission standards. Australia has no such standard. It's true. It's still the Wild West here in terms of our standards when it comes to air pollution, which is ridiculous, really. Now, Turnbull went on to say, Scott is the marketing guy, right? I mean, he's all tactics, doesn't really have any policy objectives. He just wants to stay Prime Minister, just wants to keep winning elections. So it's all about tactics, and he will do whatever works. I think he kind of describes pretty much all presidents and all prime ministers, maybe all politicians here when it comes to marketing and power. I mean, ultimately, that's all they want, right? I think some of them get into it with the right intentions, but eventually power corrupts them. And yeah, they'll pretty much do or say anything to stay in power. And that's pretty common, unfortunately. Now, one thing that's cool about Turnbull, first of all, I respect Turnbull because he was very successful. He was a successful businessman. He wasn't a career politician. Personally, I don't have a lot of respect for career politicians, people who never do anything other than politics. I think, well, how much do you really know about the real world? How many customers have you served? How many businesses have you built? How much real world experience have you really had? That's what I think. Now, let me know in the comment section below what you think. And I think Turnbull, well, he has had a lot of business experience and he's done very well. I think that's something to respect. In addition to that, I like the fact that he's always liked EVs. He was sort of a middle-of-the-road politician. He was neither really right-leaning or left-leaning. He was really a very middle-of-the-road politician, and a lot of people liked him for that. But it did mean that people on the very, far left, far right kind of hated the guy. Now, apparently his wife, Lucy, the former Lord Mayor of Sydney and company director, has been driving a plug-in hybrid, but has an order for a Tesla Model 3. So that's kind of nice to hear. So unfortunately, I think Turnbull is right about one thing. Australian politicians, most of them, if not all of them, well, more interested in power than actually coming up with policies that will benefit the country and benefit the individuals of the country. And I think that's pretty normal with politicians, unfortunately. But I do think Turnbull is giving Morrison's intellect too much credit when it comes to his understanding of EVs. I think Morrison really just had no idea what he was talking about. But let me know in the comment section below what you think. Have a great day. See you on the next one. Bye-bye.